Welcome to Lesson 2 of the NFT Education Series, why most NFT projects will go to zero in the next 5 years or less. We will definitely be having a part 2, maybe be a part 3 to this lesson, because as I dug in more, I just felt like I wasn't doing you guys justice if I only had one of this. Trying to keep it in that 10 to 20 minute range. There's a lot more I want to go over, but I think this one's gonna be really exciting. And I know a lot of people are excited about the possibility of making millions overnight with the next BAYC or CryptoPunks blowing up here, but unfortunately, I think the bubble has burst. This year has been really telling for a lot of these NFT projects, and we're gonna dive into that today, and by the end of this, hopefully you'll understand why I think that way. And remember, these are my opinions based on what I know of crypto and the world and history and all of those things. So if you have a different opinion, that's totally fine. And actually, I'd love to hear it. If you're still bullish on NFT art, please let me know. Before we dive into this, I do have to give my usual disclaimer here. These are my opinions. I don't have a crystal ball. My magic 8 ball is only right some of the times. It's not financial advice. Please do your own research, right? That's can't be stressed enough. But the difference is I am showing you how to do that research so you can make better decisions and know what has a better chance of going up, right? I don't think everything is gonna go up. Probably most of the stuff is gonna go down. I am bearish on this, so it has a bearish lens to it. But again, this is only my opinion. Please do your own research. Figure out and make your own decisions for yourself. That's the point of these series. I want you to be able to think for yourself so you can make yourself wealthy, because no one else is gonna be able to do that except for you. All right, let's dive in now. Before we get into the value of art NFTs, we do need to talk a little bit, kind of a brief history of art in general. So the central idea, the purpose of art for most of history, and the reason that what became valuable is because it captured a moment in history, a cultural norm, something that defined that era. Famous paintings and portraits from hundreds and thousands of years ago kind of solidify in our mind like how we look at that era. They captured some of the most important things of that time. Oftentimes those artists played key roles in history. They were very important people in some way, some shape, some form. They're well known culturally amongst the social elites. They were part of a king's entourage, different things like that. So these artists had this fame all of their own and this ability to see the world and capture the world in a very different way than what most people did. And that's what made a lot of art famous throughout history. We have paintings like The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. We have The Thinking Man, The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, Stuart Franklin, The Tank Man, and Joseph Rosenthal, who took the image of raising the flag at Iwo Jima. All of these different images have really strong connections to different times in history, different very important concepts socially and culturally to a lot of people here, right? And that is what has made this art so valuable over time, and this representation of history that's still culturally relevant even though it's hundreds or thousands of years later. And that's a key factor in the art world. Leading up to all this, one of the standards for art be considered art and valuable is that it's still culturally relevant at least 40 years after its creation. That is until modern art came into the picture in the early 2000s, late 90s. What happened was the ultra wealthy just needed a new way to create status. Buying new mansions and super yachts and things weren't really quite a thing, but they needed a way to separate themselves from their peers and others. So what they did was they bought crazy art that had really no cultural relevance, and its only value was because this super wealthy person really liked it. Jeff Koons' Balloon Dog is a great example. It's just a statue of literally a balloon animal, something that any clown at any fair is gonna make you. But it sold for $58.4 million because some famous person, some ultra wealthy person really liked it. And that's why modern art kind of became a thing. Oh, and it's really good way to hide money and escape taxes. So that would be another thing that the ultra wealthy really liked about it. And the thing is, we're seeing a very similar trend in crypto right now. Web3 isn't about crypto at all, and this is the real reason that NFTs are valuable. NFTs are modern art in the digital world, and famous people want to be relevant, So they started buying NFTs. Look at BYC holders. Justin Bieber, Britney Spears, Snoop Dogg, Post Malone. And really a lot of these people only started buying after they knew Snoop Dogg had purchased some NFTs because he was the go-to NFT celebrity influencer in the beginning. That's where the real value came from. No different than modern art. Crypto and NFTs aren't Web3. They're just technologies that are part of the Web3 movement. The Web3 movement is really a resurgence back to communities, smaller communities. Web 2 is all about being able to interact with the internet, and that's what created all the social media platforms. But Facebook and YouTube aren't Web 2. They're just technologies that use the Web 2 philosophy. And what you're actually going to start to see as crypto and NFTs start to evolve and mature is this coming back to smaller, tighter knit communities. You know, think of like used to being part of a book club, or being on a local softball or soccer team, or playing Dungeons and Dragons. These are all these like little tight-knit communities that have nothing to do with each other and would never interact with each other except maybe seeing you at the grocery store. Compare that to Facebook and YouTube, that all they wanted was your attention so that they could sell more revenue to all these businesses. They started to try to mix all these communities together because more ad dollars, and oftentimes that also meant a lot more hate and negativity, and these people who really should never interact with each other starting to interact. And that's what we kind of found out is with Web 2 is a lot of people suck if you put them together. So what Web 3 is really going to be about, that smaller communities, and these smart business-minded celebrities realize that owning NFTs is how they stay culture relevant, how they keep their community engaged and focused with them. And it also doesn't hurt that by talking about these NFTs that they bought, it's going to blow up their own bag, right? Because anytime a celebrity buys something, has something, everybody wants to be like that celebrity, have that same thing. So they kind of almost have this built-in pump function with their status. So really, unless there's already a big celebrity name attached to an NFT art project, the likelihood of it staying relevant is very low. And I mean outside, like real world celebrities. I'm not talking about crypto influencer celebrities, because crypto is still so new that you can't really consider celebrity status. And that's what we're really finding with what's going on right now over the past year as these NFT projects start to plummet. Most of these crypto influencers just got lucky. They picked the right project by no fault of their own, blew up, and was able to fund this lifestyle, and they were able to capture that and say, YC holder, I'm a crypto punk holder, blah, 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 when really they don't know anything. They're completely clueless, and they were just able to ride this bull market for the last couple of years. People kept paying them, their social media blew up, it seemed like they were relevant, seemed like they knew what they were talking about when everything was blowing up, but now that things are going down, we're starting to see more and more of these influencers who really don't have any clothes. They really don't know what they're talking about. And I think you're going to see a lot of them start to go out of style pretty quickly as this bear market continues into 2023. We saw this a lot in the early internet marketing eras. I can't tell you how many gurus and coaches popped up with the next great thing on how to build a $100,000 a month business in 90 days with a marketing agency, a Shopify store, this, that, or the other thing, only to find out when people started to use their methods, they didn't actually freaking work. And all they were good at was hyping and promoting their own stuff that was just full of garbage, and they disappeared almost as quickly. This cycle continues over and over every 10, 15, 20 years. We saw it with infomercials, with real estate investing and things like that in the early 90s. Yeah, you can go back to door-to-door salesmen, even before that. So this is all just cycles, people. And that's why I'm really bearish about art-focused NFTs right now. I know this video probably hasn't been what you thought it would be on art value NFTs, and it's gonna get worse, because here's the hard truth about art NFTs. Owning a JPEG is as silly as all of your non-native crypto friends make it out to be. And that doesn't mean that NFTs are silly. NFTs are going to change the world, and they already are. And we'll get more into that in part 2 of this lesson. But just because something is blowing up on Twitter and Discord right now, and there's a bunch of hype around it, doesn't mean that its value is going to hold longer than a week after mint. And the other problem is, most of these projects now are half-baked, terrible rip-offs of BAYC, CryptoPunks, CryptoKitties, like all these big projects. They're shit copies, to be perfectly honest. and there's no value in being a copy. What you're gonna see is NFTs evolving into essential digital versions of the clothing that we wear today to kind of signify our identity. You know, think in-game skins like what's in Fortnite or Call of Duty. Yeah, some of them might have a little bit more value, like if it's a Gucci brand or something like that, but for the most part, they're just gonna be something that represents who we are in the digital world. The truth is, most of the art now in the NFT world is no different than what's hanging up in the coffee shop down the street. I might buy it because I like it, but I'm not expecting to double, triple, or 10x my money off of it. I just think it looks really good on my wall out there. I have some friends who have this amazing gorilla wearing a monocle, and I would absolutely overpay for that one because I love it so much, but I would never expect to get my money back on that. And that's the big problem that most people in crypto are facing right now, is they think this thing that's kind of cool to them is going to be cool to everybody else, and that's simply not true. And the FOMO is so strong and so hard, and people are brainwashed so often in some of these communities that you can't help but believe anything else. But we don't want you to be like that. You know, that's what's different about our community. We're not trying to have you brainwashed and think. We want you to be smart investors. We want you to be good crypto investors and make this world and this community so much better. That's why we tell you the truth. That's why we don't sugarcoat things. That's why we make education series like this that expose the shit that's going on here that's not good. We've reached a point where an NFT is going to hold value for the long term as an art piece. It's something that's got to already be culturally relevant, and it's going to be a bit different than what we're used to with that kind of 40-year cycle, because the internet's a lot newer and culture is changing a lot quicker now. So think of Pepe the Frog. You know, that's a big internet meme that's maybe almost 2 decades old, which is ancient. That's going back to like Last Supper time, we're talking, for internet years. But it's culturally relevant. You know, it somehow became a symbol of hate speech, but a group picked that up and it blew up in the news and the media. So yeah, of course, Pepe the Frog NFTs are going to be valuable. That artist is relevant and a celebrity outside of the crypto world. And that's what you want to look for when you're evaluating these NFT art projects. And we'll get more into that in a future lesson here, but just keep that in the back of your head right now. What we're likely going to see as far as art and NFTs kind of blend together is more of certificates of authenticity. One of the biggest problems in the art world is the inability to really verify ownership. So many pieces of art have been stolen throughout history many, many times over that it's nearly impossible to who actually owns it. You know, did they acquire it rightfully, or was it just, I've got a bigger gun than you do, so I'm taking this? We don't know. So being able to kind of verify that history of ownership throughout time is what's going to make NFTs really relevant to the art world. So how can you tell if NFTs will hold their value? To be perfectly honest, I don't have a freaking clue. I really don't. Art is so speculative that even Picasso had no idea what his paintings are going to be worth. Many of his early paintings he burned to keep himself warm, because not freezing was way more valuable than what he ever thought they would be. To put that in context for you, Picasso paintings range on the low end from $120,000 up to $140 million. So you tell me, do you think you can pick the next big winner that's going to be relevant 20, 40, 50 years from now? I don't, and I really don't trust anybody who says they do. That's why I'm focusing on the utility-focused NFTs, how they can solve real-world problems, because that's something I can predict. That's something I can look at and see, yeah, that's a real-world problem we have right now. That's something I think this can solve. I'm confident that the team behind it is going to be able to solve it. That's what we're going to get into in lesson 2, part 2 of NFT value, art versus utility. So stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see you on the Q&A call coming up.